Welcome, one and all, to the review portion of Future Unknown. It is the 10th and possibly final episode of the Orville. It certainly felt like a series finale than a season finale, but this episode does involve a reunion, a renewal of vows, and also the start of a new marriage. This episode begins with Clyden and Bortus renewing their wedding vows, and they go through this ritual where Clyden and Bortus are running through the forest. They're chasing after each other. Long story short, Bortus and Clyden do end up catching up to each other, with Bortus being the victor. And then this episode ties into Minority Rule, where the young girl, I've already forgotten her name already. I can't believe I've done that. But anyways, oh, here it is. It's coming to me right now. Leali, well, she contacts the Orville from her home planet and wants asylum and is granted asylum. Things are apparently getting out of hand on her home world, and she is granted that asylum by Kelly and Ed, and Kelly takes her under her wing. But also, what I didn't mention in this episode is this episode begins with Isaac walking the corridors of the Orville, and he's going through various, sections of the ship. He goes to the synthesizer, synthesizes a banana, goes to the medical bay, and hands it to Claire. So we get that, and at one point, after Clyden and Bortus renew their wedding vows, he goes into, and he is Isaac, goes into the mess hall and proposes marriage to Claire. Well, Claire doesn't accept right away. And the reason why she doesn't accept is because she wants to clear it with both Marcus and Ty. Of course, when she does this, Marcus and Ty say, you love him. We're okay with it. Isaac has proven himself, he's redeemed himself. So why did you follow through? So, in this episode, we see various things like Isaac actually wanting to learn more about coupling, and he actually asked Kelly out on a date at one point. And we see Yaphet a few times in engineering, especially when Leali, and if I'm getting the name wrong, I do apologize, but she's getting a tour of the ship, and Kelly's talking to her about the quantum core. And of course, one of the things that Isaac and Commander Lamar working on are a new Dysonium collector. So we hear about that. But overall, this episode is about the renewing of vows and the start of a new life. That's what I took about it. Because Leali requests asylum. And like I said, she's granted that asylum. And at one point, she has a second thought about it. And because of that second thought, she asked to leave the Orville. Well, the whole time she was on the Orville, she was taking information about different technology like the simulator, the food synthesizer, and some of the other technology on the ship, except for weapons. And she is caught. Well, long story short, she has a second thought and decides to stay on the Orville after talking to both, you know, Kelly and Ed and Commander Thiali. So that happens. We get the wedding of Claire and Isaac, and it's funny, but even before leading up to the wedding, you see the bachelor party and you see the bachelorette party. And the bachelorette party, the girls are having quite the wild time. And there's even Kalon that comes out. It's basically the simulator's version of Isaac, and he's a Chippendale dancer and starts dancing and doing the full Monty for Claire and some of the women, but mainly Claire. Meanwhile, in the other simulator, you have Bortus, you have Clyden, you have John, and you have Gordon, of course, Captain Mercer, and Isaac's there. And it's probably the most boring, bachelor party you can ever be a part of, even though Isaac says it's authentic to the time period that they're in for Vegas. And what ends up happening is you don't see Bortus right away until he comes out dressed like Elvis. So I'm gonna call him Borvis. Okay, I know that's lame. I know. I just came up with it. It's lame. But anyways, you get some funny moments there, and of course the funny moments with the bachelorette party, and then the wedding ceremony happens. Claire and Isaac, say their wedding vows, and ties the ring bearer. He gives him the rings, and their wedding's made official. But guess what? There's a surprise. Guess who comes back? And this is a spoiler. So if you don't want to hear it, go ahead and flash the spoiler warning. If you don't want to hear it, because this is a big spoiler, and I've already said I'm going to give away some spoilers. Try not to give away too many, but you know what? This will be cut down to the spoiler portion, and it will contain the spoilers. So one more time, guess who makes a cameo appearance? And it's another reason why I say that this felt more like a series finale and not a season finale. That's right, Alara. Alara makes her return. So Austin Sage is back for this episode. And I've got to say, this episode, it had its funny moments. It really did. And you need it, especially in this one scene where you have Isaac down in engineering, and he's talking to Kalon Primary and telling him that he's engaged to be married to Claire, and he is practicing the human tradition of inviting some guests since Claire has already invited her own guest. And well, Isaac pretty much invites the entire planet. Okay, so maybe a few are left behind, but Isaac invites the whole freaking planet. Of course, not everybody can fit into the simulator. And even Ed and Kelly say, What were you thinking?" And of course, there's a funny scene too in this episode where Claire confronts Lamar. And, you know, this is after Claire finds out from Kelly that Isaac wanted to go out on a date with her. And Claire pretty much reads Lamar the riot act by saying, if you ever decide to give Isaac any of these crazy ideas again, I'm going to do terrible things to you. So, you had that moment. You had funny moments in this episode. And, I do strongly believe that's what this finale needed to have, funny moments. I mean, with Gordon being jealous about Bortus being chosen as the best man. And then one of the nice moments is, yes, Bortus is the best man. He's not the best at telling jokes, but Gordon actually does have a moment during the wedding where he gets to speak about the couple. And he gets to sing. So we get to hear Scott Grimes sing. So that was good. So overall, this episode wasn't bad, but it definitely felt like a series finale and not a season finale with, everybody, gathered for the wedding ceremony in the simulator. And then, of course, you have Halston Sage coming back as Alara. So it definitely had that series finale vibe. And you might all feel differently, and that's fine. I want to hear what you all have to say about this episode. Do you think it was a season finale that we will actually get a season four? Or do you think it was a series finale? Because right now, I think it was a series finale. I'd love to be wrong. I want to be wrong. But this felt like a series finale and not a season finale. So if I'm going to give this episode a rating, I'm going to give it a 4. This episode is a 4 out of 5 because it had the funny moments. It had the funny moments from start to finish. It also dealt with some serious repercussions of trying to steal technology. And the reason why I say that is because there's also a scene with the young girl from Minority Rules where Kelly tells her, you know, this was an encounter with the planet we had in the 23rd century. And the members of the Union that went down to this planet and thought it would be a great idea to give them some of our technology, well, ended up learning a hard lesson. This is why you have something like the Prime Directive in Star Trek, why you have rules in place, because some cultures, some societies aren't ready for technology. And within 5 years of making first contact with this planet was completely wiped out. So it had some good lessons to be learned. It had some very Star Trek lessons to be learned. It makes me think of an episode of Enterprise where Lieutenant Reed left a communicator behind. And that was pretty much telling us as a viewer of Enterprise, that's when the Prime Directive came into play. That's how it was first created. So, some nice little connections there. But overall, I'm going to give this episode a 4 out of 5. I do believe that it felt like a series finale and not a season finale. And like I said, I'd love to be wrong. I want to be wrong, but right now, speaking right now during this review, it felt like a series finale. If I'm wrong, good. If I'm right, well, it's unfortunate. So that's going to conclude my review of this episode. I will try to have this review portion edited and uploaded as soon as possible. And with that, I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by, watching, leaving a like, or just lurking. Thank you very much. And thank you for your support of this channel. I really appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're watching my live reactions for the Orville and the reviews, or you're watching Pop Talk, or you're watching any other stream I do on this channel or any other video. I greatly appreciate it. If you like what you saw here, please make sure to leave a thumbs up. If you don't like what you saw here, leave a thumbs down. Or if you like something at one point and then whatever I said changed your mind, well, take away that like if you feel like it and put a thumbs down. It's completely up to you, but please do share out this stream. And if you do like the content on this channel, subscribe to the Pacific Forum 4 YouTube channel. And until next time, take care.